Hello, I'm Helen, and today I'm going to talk about the first quarter moon. The reason I'm doing this is because tomorrow the moon reaches its first quarter. Since last week's new moon, around about 19 degrees Scorpio, it's travelled at relatively fast motion across the sky, where it will reach 27 degrees Aquarius tomorrow. If you have a look, any time between noon when it rises and midnight when it sets, you'll see that it's showing half of its lighted face to the Earth, but facing away from the Earth. In terms of angular relationship, from the perspective of the Earth, it's at 90 degrees to the Sun. In astrology, this is a time of challenge. If we were talking about seeds, for instance, that were planted at the time of the new moon, then we'd say that these have now germinated. They've come through the earth and now they're facing their first challenges from the natural environment. Perhaps they're facing their first viruses, their first beetles, their first slugs, their first bad weather, and their first boots. In terms of if you were practicing biodynamics, biodynamic agriculture, then this would be a time when you might, if it was the right time of year, want to increase the fertility of the land by adding manure or other fertilizers. It would be a time when you might want to do your grafting. It would be a time when, if you were planting seeds, these would be annual and they would be flowering or fruiting. This is the time halfway through the spring neap cycle of the tides. It's the time when, because of the angular relationship between the sun and the moon, the gravitational pull that these exert between them is much less than at the time of the full or the new moon. This is, as I said, a time of average tides in that case, except for there's one thing that affects that, well, one thing amongst many, and this has to do with the speed of the moon. Now, the speed of the moon is determined by two things. The first thing is whether or not it's approaching the Earth or moving away from us, i.e. whether it's coming to its perigee or moving to its apogee. If it's moving to its perigee, then it's increasing in speed, and this is because, for one thing, we are exerting a mutual gravitational pull on each other, and this increases the moon's speed by about 6% above the average. Not only that, it's increased a further 6% by the fact that our perspective shows it to be bigger. When it's moving away, moving to its furthest point in a given lunar cycle, or moving to its apogee, the gravitational pull is less and grows less, and it grows smaller in the sky according to our perspective. If the moon, as it is at the moment, is approaching its perigee, then those medium tides may not be so average as usual. They may be slightly raised. If the moon is moving to its perigee, this will also affect things like the sap rising in the plants, and perhaps it will affect us in the same way, perhaps metaphorically, perhaps in literal terms, so that any matters that you began at the new moon, if you're moving towards perigee at the time of the first quarter, then the idea will be that these will give a great deal more than it might be if the moon was moving towards its apogee. Therefore, you might get a bit excited, and the full moon might seem to portend a period of great increase. That's the first quarter moon for now. You take care, and perhaps we'll see you next week.